Welcome back to another edition of the Athlete Hub podcast, guys. Bit of breaking news this morning. Graham Potter has been sacked by West Ham. And as always, to talk to me about the latest ongoings in football is Mr. Flexx.
Yes, how we doing, guys?
How's it going, Flexx? Breaking news this morning. Breaking news.
It's a rough one for East London right now.
It is, yeah. Rough one for East London right now. But listen, guys, again, we've got another special guest today. My good buddy Jay's joining us.
Hi, you guys. You're all right?
Yeah, good Jay. Good Jay. Listen, me and Jay obviously go way back. We've actually been to a couple of West Ham games over the years, and we've been to watch England as well over the years together. So I thought it'd be great to sort of get you on there. I mean, we've already planned this podcast beforehand to talk about West Ham, to talk about Graham Potter. But now, Potter being sacked this morning, I think that's kind of,
a big twist in the story.
Yeah, literally. I don't know. I'm not surprised by him being sacked, but I'm just thinking they've got Everton away on Monday, and they've also got Arsenal away from home next week Saturday. So I'm thinking you're not really expecting them to win those games. So if they sack him on next week Sunday morning, they've got that at least 2 weeks for the international break to really bring a new manager, and that manager can work with the players. But to sack him like now, it's a bit strange to me. I don't know. What do you think, Jay? First of all, what do you think about the sacking of Potter?
I think, yes, he needed to go. The club is not in a position compared to where it should be as fans and stuff like that. However, the timing could have been better. Is it partly panic due to the fact that they had the protest a couple of days ago? But then also, is there potential interest of other clubs for their top candidate, who would be potentially Nuno? So they've had to ramp up that interest to move it a lot quicker than what they first supported.
Yeah. What about you, Flex? I mean, because we spoke about this on our podcast. I think it was probably last 2 weeks actually, about West Ham, the predicament they're in, and obviously Potter being under a lot of pressure now. And we spoke about potentially Nuno being a replacement for Graham Potter, and I said at the time I didn't really feel like it would be a great fit. I mean, were you surprised by the news so soon, or did you, like me, expect it to be potentially after the Arsenal game next week?
Yeah, I thought maybe they'll wait a little longer, given that it's only 5 games into the season so far, right? But to be fair, results have been bad from the previous season, and then they haven't got off to a good start this season as well. So I guess the thinking probably is, let's cut our losses right now to give ourselves a chance, because we all know what the, final quarter of the year looks like, fixture after fixture. And if your form is not looking good, it'll get really bad.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's not surprising because before we came on, I think he's only had, 6 wins in the last... How many games was it? It was his record at home, particularly, has not been very good. Again, this season only won 1 game, and that was away from home against Forest in the Premier League. So again, when they beat Forest, I was actually quite surprised because Forest at home, obviously they're going through their problems, but they're still a very good team at home. But if you look at his overall record in the Premier League so far, it's not been good. Obviously Lopetegui got sacked middle of last season, and Potter come in and obviously wanted to do well. But I think, just winning 6 games out of 23 Premier League games for any manager is that's shocking form, to be fair. So we're not surprised by him leaving. But West Ham fans, and we spoke about this as well, Flex, obviously me and Jay, we've seen different managers. We've seen when Moyes was there, we've been to watch them, and Pellegrini, obviously Lopetegui was there last season. What manager, because they believe that West Ham fans believe that, okay, they've got to have a specific identity, a certain way of playing football. And Potter probably will say is that coach because he plays football the right way. He's front-footed, the way his teams play. We saw that at Brighton before he went to Chelsea and obviously to West Ham. But it just, for whatever reason, it just didn't really work out for him. And if they're going to go for someone like Nuno Espirito Santo, who did great with Nottingham Forest last season, but again, look at the style of football. It was very pragmatic, very defensive, even at home. Is he going to be a good fit? Do you think Nuno would be a good fit for West Ham, Jay? Because the fans moan about Moyes, moan about him being quite defensive. So if Nuno is the guy to take them forward, do you think they're going to be happy with that style of football?
This is the question: it would be a fresh new start, the way moving away from Graham Potter's style, but then, as you said, it is more defensive. They did like the David Moyes the first time that they come in, that more counter-attacking style football. So how it goes under Nuno is a question. But with Nuno, the good thing was he wasn't sacked due to his form from previous club. He left due to he wasn't happy with the ownership, which is is a good sign. And he didn't do too bad at Forest, but just like Potter, you need to give that manager time. But in now day and age, 2 years, well, 1.5, 2 years, and you could be back out that door again. And with as they've got as well, I can't see, because again, Kudos, for instance, he left. Who have they replaced it with? They haven't really replaced him. Declan Rice went out that door again. Even before him, Mark Noble. They haven't got that central midfielder, so it's not just also down to the manager that they bring in. It's also the players that they need to bring through that door as well that they need to get right.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, what about you, Flexx? I mean, you look at Nuno. We spoke about it before, last couple of weeks ago. But I mean, first of all, is he the guy? Because I've said before, I feel like the West Ham fans feel they're entitled to having a certain style of football. And we've not seen that in years. David Moyes didn't play it. I think the only manager I could say in recent times who played an exciting style was Slaven Bilic, when they had Payet, Lanzini, Carroll, Antonio, Mark Noble, and a good team. But since 2015-16, since it came to the Olympic Stadium, we've not seen any of that football, to be honest. They've tried it with Pellegrini, it didn't really work. Obviously, Lopetegui was a bit of a disaster, and obviously Potter now hasn't been able to kind of establish that. So do you think Nuno would be a good fit?
Yeah, I think he would be a good fit. I mean, look, in my opinion,
in terms of style, style. If you're going off style of football,
that's what it is. But, Nuno also can't be trusted, as a person. Because...
What makes you say that?
Well, he's the type of man to then be at a press conference to say that, he has a problem with the owner. And then the owner comes out to say, well, there is no problem, and then sacks him. So there's obviously a problem somewhere, right? You know what I mean? You can't really have someone like that, I guess.
But also the issue with Graham Potter in his interviews, he was very reserved. He wasn't saying anything to the fans except for the yes and no's. So would you rather Graham Potter, who's very quiet, or would you prefer Nuno, who will say it potentially how it is?
Oh, this is a good question, right? And for me personally, I like the say it how it is, because it gives us something to work with, But I'm guessing if you're talking about, relational management, you have to know how to manage up as well as manage down, right? And his management going upwards seems to always fail him, right? Except for when he was at Wolves. If you look at how he was treated at Tottenham, seems like there was also a management issue there, managing up. Results weren't great as well, but then again, that's Tottenham. Tottenham is a bit of a difficult case with the recent managers that they've had as well. But does his style fit West Ham? I think so. Can he get results of the current crop that's there? I think so, because his style suits those type of players.
But I mean, you say that though. You look at the team they've got, because remember at Forest, he had the likes of, even at Wolves, he built a very good team. He had Jota in there, God rest his soul. He had Jimenez, Neves, Moutinho, Traore. It was a good team, particularly on a counter attack.
That's what it sounds like. Pace, right?
Pace, right? Yeah. And then you look at Forest, he had Elanga who's gone to Newcastle, he had Hudson-Odoi. So you had a good team who was built for that system, right? Whereas at West Ham, they're still relying on the likes of Bowen, Souček. Paqueta's not done that brilliantly since he's joined, in my opinion. They had Antonio there for a number of years. Kudus has gone now. So if Kudus was still there, you've still got Kudus, Bowen, and you've got potentially Wilson, who's there now, but he's been injured for a lot of time. So I feel like the group of players they got there, I still feel like anyone who comes in now, I feel their job is to keep West Ham in the league, because I don't look at the West Ham squad and think they've got a great squad. I think they've got good individuals in there who can make a difference, but I don't look at a squad and feel like this is a brilliant squad of players who can get into mid-table. I feel like losing Kudus didn't really replace him. Antonio went, and Antonio, remember when he came in the team, he wasn't actually a striker. He was like a right winger on the Bilic, and then he was like a makeshift centre forward. So I don't look at their team and feel like, okay, he's got great tools. I think he's got some good individuals, but as a team, they've got to learn how to defend, stop conceding goals at home and away, and then just be a bit more difficult to play against. I think you play against West Ham now, it's so easy.
I mean, looking at it, you released Fabianski and then brought him back, which for me is like, I don't understand it. So Jay, maybe you can tell us a bit more about what's going on over there, because I don't know how old is he now? Like he's got to be in his 40s or something. Like he's got to be 40,
he's
early
in
40s.
early 40s. Yeah, it's confusing one where you've got a goalkeeper that, yes, I know we let him out, but yeah, as I say, you had a whole transfer window that potentially could have had those discussions and stuff like that. So something either contractually with the goalkeeper that went out has gone wrong, and it's gone last minute of bringing him back into the club just to cover. But it is another warning, the fact that you're bringing someone back that you've already released at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
I mean, looking at it, would you say, let's say at board level, funds, like you have a strategy, for the funds that, do exist? Because right now it feels like there is no strategy. So I don't know, Jake, do you see a strategy?
At the moment, I can't see a strategy. The amount of players that they've brought in, if I can remember, is it Walker Peters at right back?
Yeah, Southampton.
Yeah, you got Callum Wilson, who both of those come in for free. You've brought Fabianski back in for free. You haven't really brought anyone, well, in Graham Potter, because even the defender, is it Tobodo as well?
And don't forget as well, they brought in Max Kilman from Wolves.
Yeah. But it's more free transfers that are coming in that door than it is players that you're actually going and go, right, we're going to put 30, 40 million down. Because again, Kudos went out that door, and then who they've really brought in that position to replace him. They've got Summerhill, which brought in last season. Yes, he was injured for most of it, but you haven't got that name player that you're going to go, right, we're going to bring him straight into that position. Because even Kieran Dewsbury Hall, someone like him, bring him on loan, just like Everton have done. That would have been a great transfer for West Ham, just to control that midfield. You got James Ward-Prowse, who's kind of aging in the nicest way possible. And yet, even in that midfield, you haven't got that central rock. But yeah, they've let him slip through the fingers. As I say, I think they went in for Villarreal's Guy as well, 32 million. There was rumours of talking to him to bring in. If you can't bring in someone like that, that's a big warning.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know. I look at I think that Moyes did such a great job there, because again, I'm talking about the centre forward position. I don't think West Ham ever look at the days of Andy Carroll when he was there before they came to Olympic Stadium. West Ham have not had great centre forwards, and if you probably say that when Antonio got transferred from a right winger into a makeshift centre forward, I think Moyes did a great job with that team, because Antonio, for his limitations, wasn't a great centre forward. He was more of a, he's strong, powerful, score goals, but he wasn't like a traditional centre forward. So for Moyes to get the best out of him for that many years, I thought he did wonders there. And again, you look at the likes of Souček is still there, Bowen's still there. They brought in Danny Ings, don't forget, as well, who didn't really do very good at West Ham. So you're looking at their attacking options. I think that it's overlooked how well David Moyes did there, because apart from Bowen, who I thought who's been outstanding now for a couple of seasons for them, and Kudus was great last year. Probably not last year, he probably fell off a bit last year because Moyes wasn't there and Lopetegui came in. But I don't look at the West Ham team and think, okay, they've had great recruitment, because James Ward-Prowse, like you mentioned there as well, is a good set piece guy. He can score, take free kicks. We all know that. But as a midfield player, is he better than Jamie? Is he better than Mark Noble? I don't know. Is he better than Souček? Souček scores a goal, but is James Ward-Prowse an upgrade on that? I don't know. So you look at the recruitment, and as you mentioned, bring these players in for free. It's like a quick fix for West Ham. Do you know what I mean? It's like a quick fix. Whereas the best clubs always, bring in players at good value. Again, he sold, brought in Max Kilman for £30 million. He's not improved that defence one bit. Kozuma went, left there. But you go back to days where they had like James Collins in defence, Reed in there as well. Good players, Cresswell, left back. They weren't the most glamorous footballers, but they could do the job, right? For a number of years. Kufal there as well for a number of years at West Ham. So they've kind of taken out all these players who had a backbone for the club and backbone for the Moyes team, and they've replaced them with all these flair players, and they've not done well at all, if that makes sense. But again, it goes back to the manager though. Like whoever comes in there, I have to ask you both, like what's the West Ham way? Because they believe that they should play attractive football. They've had great players over the years. Di Canio, Joe Cole, Carrick, that crop of players, Rio Ferdinand, and obviously Payet was there for the time, Lanzini. So they've had good players. But what's the West Ham way? Because I'm confused now, to be honest.
Me personally, back to like as you said, the David Moyes, even like the last year at the Bowling Ground, it was play that ball through the centre to Mark Noble, Declan Rice, like that midfield, and get that ball distributed out to your wingers, to your striker. Since losing, I'd say, losing Declan, even in that last season against, in Prague as well, you started to lose that identity. And then Locatelli's tried to change it to a more defensive idea. Graham Potter's tried to change it to more like a possession style, and it's not worked. They need to find that system of going back to find that central pivot person and get that ball distributed. Go back to how they used to play. Again, I know me personally, I wouldn't bring him back, but Bilic is one of the names that they've linked with the club. But why bring someone back? We've seen it with Man United when they brought back what's the word? Not Man United, sorry, Everton. They brought back David Moyes the second time. Yes, he's done okay, but is he going to ruin that legacy with what he done in when he done it the last season at the Bowling Ground?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Flexx, looking at obviously Bilic, I don't know. Like you said before, that West Ham's way is, to sit back and counter attack. That's what you said, isn't it? But they believe that they've got the players to play the right way, attractive football. So, like, I don't know. What's your thoughts on it? Because West Ham's identity as a football club and the way they play is confusing, right? Because the fans believe in playing a certain way, but the managers they've appointed over the years haven't done that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I just feel like the David Moyes way is the West Ham way. That's where you had success, And so for me, I think that's what they got to go back to, because that's the type of players you have. You don't have the players to play, free-flowing football like Liverpool, Arsenal, City. You just don't have it. So low block, get the ball, like you said, Jay, into the central positions and distribute as quick and as early as possible. That's the West Ham way. That's what I've seen success. I've seen a trophy, with that, and with the other managers, yes, do you want to go and play fancy football but not win anything? Like, I think you got to be a bit objective here. Are we trying to stay in the league and just play great football, or are we trying to, repeat, the success we had in the Conference League, even qualifying for it, etc. That's where pragmatism comes in. So it'll be interesting to see, I guess, where they decide to pivot to next. I'm sure a decision has probably already been made as to why they've even sacked him, before the game that's coming up. So you mentioned about David Moyes and his legacy. Right now, they're sitting, 10th in the league. I think they'll be all right, with Moyes, so.
But you have to remember with Moyes as well, guys, like when Moyes came back to Everton, it was after Sean Dyche, and they had to stay in the league at that point. And then with David Moyes, you know what you're going to get. It's going to be low block, hard to beat, and then he's got the players to then go and nick a result. And with the likes of Beto, also, who's and Dyer has always done really well this season. Grealish has come to the team, so you knew with Dave Moyes what you're going to get, right? It wasn't going to change too much from what Dyche was doing, except that there was more end product and there was more victories as a result. But I feel like with West Ham, Graham Potter could have been what they wanted him to be, but you have to remember as well, when he went to probably his best work so far that we've all seen what he can do was at Brighton, where he had a great footballing structure there. The way they ran the club was near perfect, really. The recruitment at Brighton's been phenomenal, to be honest. So all Potter after Chris Hughton got sacked was come in there and just play football and just do his job, just coach. Whereas at West Ham, it feels like that structure wasn't there because there's been a lot of, as you mentioned at the beginning, there's been protests from the fans about the board, the structure there, the ownership. Whereas Potter at Brighton was able to go in there and just coach because everything else in the background was set up for him perfectly to do that. This board was fine, the way the club was run was perfect, and obviously the recruitment at Brighton's been phenomenal as well. So his job wasn't that difficult, but you then go to Chelsea, which is a bit more of a different footballing structure there. They more hire and fire based on results. And West Ham, again, is a bit of a mess everywhere. So I feel like Potter could have been that guy, but it just the way the club's been run hasn't helped him at all. And he's not been able to, of course, he's not got the results in it. But I feel like
also with Everton as well. Yeah, they had a protest before everything changed over there. And now look, they've got a brand new stadium. They've come in. They've not had a goal conceded in their in their own new stadium at the moment. Yes, I know it's only, I think it's 2 or 3 games that they've played, which was a 0-0 and then like a 2-1, 3-1 win. But 2-0, 3-0 win. But as I say, it's showing the fact that, yes, if you've got the right ball at the top, your players are going to start, getting it through as well. But then also you've got players with West Ham as well, going back years, you would always go back to the academy and bring those players in. Like you had your Anton Ferdinand, you had your Frank Lampard, you had even Mark Noble, that good rice started coming through.
Don't forget as well, Nigel Rio-Coker as well.
Exactly. And these are the players that we're bringing in. Nowadays, we've got Freddie Potts, a youngster who played all through pre-season. Where is he now? He's not played really on that pitch, if you mean. Like,
what's it called? You had Downs as well, who's at Southampton now.
Exactly. And this is
it's pressure, right? It's pressure, like it's different when, you look at Liverpool right now and you've got Ngamoa who is playing and has signed a new deal. It's because they're 5 games in and they've won, so you can take those chances, but when you're lying 19th, it's different. It's different.
Flexx, think about it. He's tried all this stuff already. As you mentioned, the 19th in the league. Why not bringing the young kids then? Because what you're doing now is not working. So why not try the young kids? You mentioned pressure, but some of these young kids, when they come into the team, they might not feel that pressure because it's a new environment. They want to go out there, they want to impress. So why not try those kids rather than persist with what you're doing?
It's different, man. Like pressure makes you do different things, man. And probably in the environment he's in, he's looking at his job. He knows he's on the chopping block, So is he going to put his career in the hands of, the unproven and unknown? Or is he going to go with what's tried and tested and just hope that, things fall his way? So the question I have for you guys, right, is how long should a manager have, in his tenure before being sacked? Because, this has happened quite quickly. So what's your thoughts?
I'll let you start, Jay.
Me personally, I'd say at least 2 transfer windows if it's like a January and a summer signing. That way you've got a chance to get your players out, get your new players in, and then because at least look at Man United with Amorim, for instance. It's taken him a while to get players out that door. They've brought in a few players like Mbeumo, Coutinho, like they've brought those players in, and he's still getting rid of. Like he didn't like Marcus Rashford at the club, got rid of him on loan. Garnacho, another one, didn't like. He got him out that door, so he's given that chance to actually do that. Whereas Graham Potter, he come in after that first transfer window in January. Well, he was coming up part way because it was the 9th of January he joined. Whereas so he had part to try and pick up and run, and then he's had this January window. So I'd say at least 2 full windows to get that decision running.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like how long should a manager have? Well, I think it depends. The problem is now football nowadays, everyone's given this remit, right? So your job might be to come in and keep us up for 6 months, and then we'll go from there. It might be a temporary contract, a short-term contract. So I think football now is very much operated on based on what your objective is. So if it's a long-term project, you'll probably get at least 2-3 years contract. If your job is to come in halfway through the season, which somebody will do at West Ham now, it might be a case of come in, whether it's Sean Dyche, whether it might be keep us up, keep us in the league, and we'll review it in the summer, see how it goes, and we'll see if we can build on there. But I believe, again, I feel like a manager should always have at least 2 seasons for us to really see what they can do. But I always go back to, if you're a coach and you're coming in halfway through the season, you have to show us what you can do as a coach. You have to come in, coach the team, show us what you can do, improve these players. I look at Eddie Howe, for instance. When he went to Newcastle, they were struggling massively when Steve Bruce went. But he got best out of players. Look at likes of Joe Linton, who's a different player now. He brought in his own players, and they've been fantastic. So coaches have to come in there and they have to show what they can do, make an impact, especially when you come in halfway through the season. It's all right getting 2-3 years, but at the same time, if you're not getting any results and you're losing game after game like Potter was doing, obviously Amorim is doing now, you're not going to get that time because you're losing games. And for clubs like West Ham, coming to the Olympic Stadium and then potentially getting relegated with that stadium in the Championship is not going to be great for them. So they're having to react to these things. So I feel like typically a manager should get, maybe for us to see the best out of them, at least 2 seasons. They've got, like Jay said, get your players in. But at the same time, it very much depends on what the club wants the manager to do. It might be just keep us up in the league and then review it and bring somebody else in. We've seen that before. Or it might be like a long-term project. So, I think it just depends on what they want them to do, really. What about you, Flexx? How long should the manager get?
Yeah, no, I mean,
This is your club, Chelsea, by the way. Your club, Chelsea, is not a great example. So, yeah.
Yeah, we're not a great example for how long someone should get. That's for sure. But the formula is win at all cost, right? So it's one of those things where we've been very successful with just firing someone midway through, and you get a new manager bounce, and that typically leads us to a trophy of some sort. So I mean, it's I guess easier said for clubs like Chelsea because you have the talent there, like immense talent, and that's through the academy right the way down into the first team. So it's a lot easier to find someone to go and manage those bunch of players because they are already good players. Whereas, we've mentioned in the likes of West Ham, it's an aging squad and, players that are, pretty much finished. Like if we look at Wilson, although a free transfer, that's not a transfer you should take.
Yeah.
That's a player who really, he's cooked. He hasn't played much football. He's always injured, etc. But, that's kind of where you are. So to the question, I would say I agree, maybe 2 seasons. I think 2 seasons is where you can see that, you've managed to get players out, you've got players in, and then we can start seeing, the style of football that, can be played. We can take Arteta, for example, right? It's a long process, but now they've got one of the strongest, if not the strongest squads in the Premier League, and that takes a period of time. We've got to consider players on long contracts who won't leave. Then you've got those that are going on loan and you still got to pay part of their loan fee. So you can't bring in, X player because of that, etc. So it's easier said than done, is what I would say. So I would say maybe 2-3 seasons and then, we've got to push on and at least win a Carabao Cup, so that's my
with Chelsea and even Newcastle. With Newcastle, they knew with the Saudi owners coming in, they wanted Eddie Howe from that start. With Chelsea, they could come in and they can attract any manager across the whole of Europe. Whereas, as I say, for instance, Thomas Tuchel wanted to come into Chelsea. Well, like he did, they could go and get him. Could West Ham in this position attract someone like Thomas Tuchel to come in? I can't see it. This is a big issue as well, is who they've got to have a standard, but can they get that manager who's that top level? I can't see it at the moment.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a great point, guys. But listen, it's been good to chat today. I think, again, we wasn't expecting this breaking news, to be honest, but perfect timing for us, I suppose, coming on here to talk about it. But last question, do West Ham stay up this season? Because I've mentioned as well, look at their squad. I don't think it's a great squad. Look at likes of Wolves, who probably are odds on to be relegated. And I think West Ham, for me, aren't too far behind just because I don't think they've got good individuals, but as a team, there's still so many issues in there. So do we think that they can stay up this season?
Jay, what do you think?
That's a no.
I think just by the skin of the teeth, if we get the right people in, if it is Nuno that comes in and he gets the right couple of players in, I think we could just stay up. But again, if we bring in a manager that just holds it by the skin of the teeth, or again, we just don't even get the right players in, then it's looking very, very bleak.
Yeah, crazy. What about you, Flexx? What's your prediction for West Ham this season?
Man, I'd love West Ham to be in the league next season. For me, I think it's definitely possible because it's a long season. It is a long season, and I feel like you need to pick up the right run of form at the right time to save yourself. And I feel like, they have that experience within the squad to get the job done.
Yeah. Interesting. I feel like it'll be difficult, but I feel like they could stay up. It depends who comes in. If the right guy comes in, someone who's great at keeping them up in the league, someone like Sean Dyche, I feel like they will stay up because those managers just know how to get the job done. But there's still a lot of building to do at West Ham. Whoever comes in is going to bring in their own group of players. We'll then see how they do play football long term. But this season, I feel like, just keep more clean sheets, stop conceding goals, be difficult to play against. And I thought that's a solid basis to then carry on and see what happens. But it remains to be seen. Again, Everton on Monday, Arsenal away next week. So we'll see how they sort of fare in those 2 games, and then we'll go from there. But listen, guys, it's been good today to talk. Jay, thanks for coming on.
No, thanks for having me.
this season. We'll definitely do it again. We'll see how West Ham get on for the rest of the season. But yeah, listen, guys, it's been great to chat to you. As always, guys, keep up with what we're doing. We're on Instagram, TikTok now as well. Like and share content. Comment below as well, West Ham fans. What do you think about the second of Graham Potter? Who should come in to replace him as well? And let us know what's the West Ham way, because everyone's confused now. No, is it free-flowing football, or is it like Flexx said? Is it sit back and counter-attack? So let us know in the comments down below. And yeah, guys, it's been a pleasure as always.
As always, my man.
Thanks.
Yeah, take care, everyone.